With the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Hello. And good evening to you, Nevs.
Yeah, you too, Carrie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Very well. Thank you. It was a good day. How about you?
Yeah, it was a busy day. As usual. Same story for me all the time, right? That was quite an intro for us. That was Paul Harvey in 1965. So tonight, that's what we're talking about. We don't have Moxie here. Moxie, if you happen to be watching, we hope you're feeling okay. Moxie couldn't join us tonight, but we hope you're doing well. And yeah, should we get into it? Are you ready, Carrie?
I'm ready. And I'm just blown away by this audio. 1965.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's just under 60 years ago, and the tactics and deception are the same.
Yeah, it's almost 60 years. Wow.
Right? And
wow.
And it just I think that it's always been the same. It's always been used, but I think in this particular time in our lifetimes, we're just seeing it more. It's being revealed more, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So what we're going to do tonight is a little bit different. We did this once before when we talked about the Asbury revival. Is that the one we did? No. It was when we had the episode where we asked about why does God allow suffering in the world? So with that, we played a clip, and then we talked about that clip, and we're going to do that with Paul Harvey too. We're going to go through each one of those segments of his speech there. Some will be longer, some will be shorter, and we'll chat about it after. Most of this is going to be conversational. We won't have a lot of media to show, but we will have a little bit. So we'll get into and show the intro first. Are you ready for that one, Carrie?
I'm ready.
Okay, this one is 20 seconds.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree.
Yeah, so Carrie, what are your thoughts on that first segment?
Well, we just talked about this last week about our nation, and it's not an invasion from an enemy army. It's an infiltration throughout all of our institutions, every single one, right?
It sure is.
Yeah. So in that regard, he's right. And I think it's because we stand between the globalist complete power, the people of America. I think a lot of our government has been corrupted, but we, the people, I mean, I think Russia does as well. And, that's why they hate them so much. But anyway, I think we kind of understand that now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting how he started that out, that if he were the devil, he would go after the biggest thing, which is what you were talking about, the United States, right? And that really does set it up for a lot of the things happening in the world. I think I'll talk more about that maybe with each other segment, but it's a good sort of just introduction as to how our conversation is going to go tonight. And with that, we'll just get directly into segment number 1. There it is. This first segment that we're going to look at is 44 seconds long. And when it's done, we'll kind of talk about the parallels in the world we see today to what he almost 60 years ago was talking about. So let's go for it.
So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa.
A lot packed in that 44 seconds.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Carrie?
Well, I want to look at the subversion of the church and, the do as you please. And if we understand that all the institutions in our nation, all the way down to even school boards, have been infiltrated, right? The church has to be as well. I'm not saying every church, to be fair, but it's got to be the number one target of the enemy, the devil, right? And I'm a churchgoer, and I love my church, so I'm not bashing. I'm just looking objectively at some things that have happened in the church as a whole. I see many preaching only aspects of the Bible, partitioning it to suit their their members or their whims, and the proliferation of the entertainianity is what I call it. It's really geared toward entertainment and lights and a show, and that's all fine and well, but it can get overboard. And I feel like we see a timid church, not preaching about evil or demons because that makes people uncomfortable. And it's either feel good or tailored to please, prosperity gospel, a lot of that feel good stuff. And then, I mean, it's nice to feel good, but I think it just needs more of a balance. But then we even showed on our recent video about episode about transgender. I mean, pastors are saying that Jesus was transgender. So there's all kinds of weird stuff being promoted in the church, and this, do as you please. I kind of see that as like, be your own God. That's kind of the like, do it your way, not God's way. And that's not necessarily in the church, but that's kind of in the culture.
Yeah, it's totally in the culture.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have some other thoughts about some other aspects of that, but do you want to share a little bit? We can go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you said the churches were timid, is it? Or how did you put it? Yeah.
Timid.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. That probably is very true. And my take on it is, like, I'm thinking of Paul Harvey when he was probably writing this, that he saw infiltration early. I feel like there's infiltration happening everywhere. So like he says, if I were the devil, I would go to the churches first, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just the churches, like it's all areas of society, in our schools, in our institutions, in corporate America. And one interesting thing that he brought up, which I'm going to just quick show a couple of screenshots, but talking about how to say that God that man created God, but God created man in his image. There literally is a book out there that says man created God. So I should have looked to see what year this was published. That would be interesting. If it was before or after. But yeah, so that was one of the things that I found interesting, is that he kind of is predicting that, because you see, like with the whole COVID and everything like that, they say, trust the science, believe in the science,
right.
Yeah. Right. So yeah. And our Father, which art in Washington, rather than, so like, believing that the government can take care of you and save you and rescue you from all the trials in life. You should be looking to God rather than the government to protect you. So that's kind of what I pull out of there.
And
they
want to replace government. They want to replace God with government.
They want to replace government with God, you mean?
Or yes, what
I get
it. They want us to worship the government and be loyal to the regime, or whatever you want to call it, and not God.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the other statement he said, getting organized, educating authors on how to make lurid literature. So, I mean, maybe I'll show it later, because this was a long clip. And if we have time at the end, I'll pull up some examples of some like books that they're giving kids, like 10 and under, middle schoolers, high schoolers. It's unbelievable. I'm not going to show that now, because we did the transgender thing last time and we showed a lot of that. So watch our show.
They're pornographic, these books, to the point that they're actually being banned now. they're so bad.